Hello folks, my name is Jack. I go by Compressor Beats, and today I'm going to show you guys 3 mixing tips that'll help you guys improve your mix when making beats, including a drum bus, including stereo width practices, and leveling for sure. So let's dive right in it. And so the first tip that I wanted to discuss, first technique that I want to discuss is having a drum bus. So having a drum bus is very helpful. You can just manage all your drums in one place. You don't have to individually throw effects on each individual drum sound. Drum bus, again, if folks don't know, is just having one rack to edit all your drums in one space. It's nothing crazy. That's all it is. So this one here is the first one on my channel rack, and it's called Fruity Fastest. It's just some simple distortion on the drums. I do it like really lightly. You really don't want to rep it too much because then it'll just like make the drums sound a little too distorted. But a little distortion will just make them knock harder and just make it like a little more powerful. Boom, bam, bop. And right after that, I have Fruity Compressor. My ratio is 2:1. My release is 100 milliseconds. My attack is 30 milliseconds. Then yeah, the threshold, I keep it around 12. I really don't even touch this at all, and it's really light with these presets. This with the compression, it helps because you don't want any like crazy transients. Let's say you got a hi-hat in there, and the transients are just like going crazy. You want this to like capture the transients and not make them go that much more crazier than every other transient, every other drum sound. It's helpful when you do it on drum bus because then you're not like being fooled. If I buy it in comparison, if I just do it on the hi-hat, you're just like, oh wow, that transient's really high. I gotta dumb it down. You know, it just makes them like less ear attacking, and then obviously makes them sound a little more punchy. Boom, bam, bop. Another huge tip that I gotta state: stereo width. You gotta mess around stereo width. If you were to increase the stereo width of a certain sound, it will just become seemingly wider in the mix. A universal tip is like bass lines and like low frequency instruments. You really don't want any like stereo width in them at all. You want to kind of keep them hitting towards the middle so they speak towards the middle of the mix. The higher up you go in terms of like frequency spectrum, you want to just widen them more. Mono is the opposite of stereo, and mono again is what I was referring to when you say you want your like bass lines and lower frequencies in mono. It just keeps them tight in the mix, doesn't keep them spread out. You don't want your 808s sounding like crazy wide. You want like your mids and highs to be more open. Kind of want your highs to be the most open in the mix. Yeah, my bass lines, and then I got my snares, my claps, and my rims, and then I got my kick all in mono. And also, if you can see here, these are some of my main instruments that I know I use dang near every beat. So I have these a little bit in stereo, you know, not too much, but just to open them up just a little bit more, just to add a little bit more like width and depth to the instrument. And here, I should have started off with this, but here, right here is the knob where you can control how mono or how stereo a sound is. So boom, if you bring this all the way right here in FL Studio, right? This is what would be considered mono. It's fully in mono. Bring it to the left, it's gonna be fully in stereo. In stereo, it's just gonna sound way more like, just like full. And so if you were to have headphones on or earbuds in, you could hear the piano actually come from like both sides. Whereas if you were to have it fully in mono, it wouldn't be as immersive as an experience. It's definitely a cool way to add like variation and depth in your mix. You can also pan your instruments too. You can actually kind of shove sounds to a certain side of the ear just to make the experience a little more like immersive, and that also helps create like space in a mix. I usually do it depending on which frequency is more where. So let's say my pad has a few more higher frequencies and my piano is a little bit towards the lower. I pan my piano towards the strength to the lower, pan the pad to the right, and then boom, when you have headphones on, it's a little more separated so it's not as muddy. And my last but really most important mixing tip is leveling. Leveling is huge. So I use a plugin called Metric AB. You don't need that to level. I strongly recommend you use reference. Referencing is just magical. It's what's taking my beats to like the next level. You can get a reference of like an amazing sounding beat and then just kind of not copy it, but basically try to mimic it. Beat's gonna be leveled, in my opinion, way better than if you were to just use your ears. It's like a hack. You gotta level, we gotta reference. Gotta match the levels, and so the levels are correct. And then what I used to do is just grab an EQ, and then I used to just match like the peaks. So like how I have a peak right here, I would then just get my reference and then boom, just like try and match where they both peak. But yeah, it's really just like referencing is just all about like trying to mimic the reference as much as you can. That's why it's good to get like, I don't know, I like doing like really popular, really well done beats, really well done songs that I know have been like professionally mixed and mastered and done really well commercially. You bring those in, they're bound to be mixed and mastered very good. So you just try and match those levels in terms of volume and stereo width. That's what I do, and then you should be golden. I mean, it's such a hack. So I use Metric AB, right? So what I do is I go ahead and I see that these levels, so you can tell these levels are a little bit off, right? So let's take this rim. You can see this rim is hitting a little bit louder than our reference. Our reference is the orange or the blue. So what we can do is we can lower the rim to make it a little more like in line with these frequencies. And so boom. So I can tell right here is where they're both hitting. See how they're both hitting like a little bit almost the same right there? That's what we want, you know? We just want to like mask the levels as much as possible, and then we're gonna be golden. Do that for each sound. And yeah, that's literally all I do. I just fly through it to level, and then that's how I get my beats to like just sound that much better. Referencing is so important, because if you were to just use your ears, like I used to just use my ears in my car when I first started. But it's just like when you use your ears, you could so easily just be fooled by the wrong things. You could think that something sounds good. It's just not what your music like should sound like. You can use multiple reference tracks too. You know, I haven't experimented with that myself, but I feel like it would only be helpful. But using any reference at all is really like seriously, it's gonna take your mix to the next level for sure. Proper leveling is how you're gonna get your beats like placed and rapped on for sure. It could definitely be a deal breaker in terms of like if a rapper chooses to rap on your beat or not. If a beat is really like not level good, don't matter how good the beat is, it's really like you can say goodbye. They're not gonna rap on it if it just sounds like whack in terms of leveling. Hope you guys found this video valuable. And so just a recap. So drum bus, super important. It helps just not having to like put effects on every single drum rack. And you can like for sure put on every single one as a whole and improve them as a whole. So definitely mess around with that. Stereo width. It helps just like to help make certain instruments more like wider in the mix. Maybe have some instruments more like head on if you're listening with headphones, not be so wide in the mix. Definitely helps with variation as well, so definitely play around with that. And leveling, huge, man. Leveling is absolutely ginormous in terms of huge, because that's what'll make your really like make or break your beat in terms of like if it's gonna be used by an artist or if it's not. So yeah, boom. Appreciate y'all again for tuning in to this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel if you like seeing videos like this, and I will see y'all in the next one. Deuces.